Welcome to 10 Minutes With. It's a podcast for people who want to listen to podcasts but don't have all day. We've got a quick chat with someone you might be interested in learning more about in about 10 minutes. Natalie Layne started leading worship at the age of 12. She's a songwriter, a piano player, a lover of Jesus, and just a lot of fun. Right now, she's on tour with 10th Avenue North. If I could sum up Natalie in just one word, it would be joy. How do you make it a point to choose joy every day?
Oh man, that's what it is. It's a point to choose it every single day. I think, we come up against so much every day that we wake up and there's something new that we could be worried about, I feel like. But the joy of the Lord really can be our strength. And I've always tried to hold on to that. And, I've been learning a lot about joy too, as I'm writing songs about it. And it's just been striking me lately how joy is a fruit of the spirit. It's right at the beginning of that list: love, joy, peace. Really just coming into agreement with what the Holy Spirit is doing and with what God's doing that day. And I think just having it be a conscious choice is the most important thing. So I try to do that, and I'm not good at it all the time, but it really does make life with Jesus so much better. So I'm trying to choose joy every day.
It's funny when you go through fruits of the spirit. Got love. There's lots of songs about love, lots of songs about joy, peace, fewer about patience, and then hardly
totally.
any at all about self-control. Why?
We don't like to talk about that.
Why do we pick and choose which fruit we want to celebrate in music? I feel like you could, do a song about self-control and it would be a smash because we all need that.
Yeah, we do need that. It's a little more awkward to talk about, when you're like, oh, I need to control myself. That sounds weirder than give me peace, Lord,
Right. But I do feel like maybe what the world needs is you need to control yourself.
We need it too. We need both things. Yeah.
You grew up in a very musical family, and your first memories of music were when you were just a toddler. Can you share about that very first keyboard that you had?
Oh, it's so funny to me still. My parents both play music, and so I think they would have made me take piano lessons, but they bought me this little keyboard when I think I was 3 years old. They didn't say anything about it. They just bought it and put it at my level, in my little playroom. And I discovered it, and I felt like it was the coolest thing I had ever found. I was like, look at this keyboard. Where did this come from? And I just started playing little melodies, and kind of found that I was pretty good at it. And I was like, oh, maybe I should take piano lessons. And my parents were like, that's a great idea. Wow. I just think it's so funny because I fell in love with music that way, and felt like I was discovering something that I would get to do for a living and could be really good at. And so it was fun. It's fun that I got to start at such a young age.
They didn't trick you into it. They just provided opportunities.
Opportunities, right.
You were leading worship when you were 12, which is when most people are in that very awkward stage. How did you
still awkward.
How did you come to at least have that kind of confidence to be up in front of a room full of people? There's not a lot of 12-year-olds that would do that boldly.
Oh, I definitely didn't have the confidence at the beginning. I started leading at church, in the kids ministry, and then I was leading in the youth ministry, and then I was leading in, big church. And so I think that progression helps me a lot, but also just having mentors around me who really believed in me and were willing to teach me alongside them, how to lead worship and how to write songs. And so I just had some really great mentors in the church who were being what the church should be, and pouring into the young people and seeing gifts in them. And so I'm really passionate about that now, of learning from people who are older than me and pouring into people who are younger than me, because that's what the church should do. And that's what it did for me. So that helps me a lot.
What would you tell someone who's younger than you who wants to be just like you?
Oh, that's so sweet. I think it's a daily choice to be faithful to what the Lord has asked you to do. And that can be the hardest part, because we wish we could decide one time to follow Jesus and do the things that he's asked me to do. But it's a daily decision, and it takes a lot of faithfulness and consistency. And I think we miss that part sometimes. And so people ask how I got good at piano or whatever. I'm like, man, practicing every day. And I think the same goes for our relationship with the Lord. If we want to be close to him and walk in his ways, we have to follow him every day and choose that every day. So whatever it is that the Lord has called each of us to do. I think we just have to stay committed and keep coming back to him. And so that's still what I'm learning. And that's what I would say is it takes a long time, but it's worth it, you know?
I would guess that your life has gotten pretty busy, between everything you do on social media, which is crazy, by the way. You
Thanks.
throw in a touring schedule, radio interviews with people like me. How do you stay in God's presence, especially so that you can keep writing songs? Because you do have to keep coming back to that well.
Totally, totally. I think I've had to have a lot of grace for myself on like it changes and rhythms look different in different seasons. And it used to be that I was home all the time and I could, have a quiet time every morning and have the same schedule every day. And now my schedule is never the same day to day. Just finding little moments to connect with the Lord has been huge for me and just coming back to that every day, but at different times of day, sometimes a lot of times it's right before the show at night, and sometimes it's right before I go to bed. And so just knowing that like the Lord he gives us grace for what he's asked us to do as well. Right now I'm going through a plan called the Bible Recap. It takes you through the Bible in a year, and it takes me probably about 20 minutes every day to read the chapters. And so that happens at different times of day for me. And I've been really thankful to be able to find that much time, because I feel like sometimes we only get 5 or 10 minutes, and I really love coming back to the Psalms when I have a shorter amount of time, or back to the Gospels and just reading about the life of Jesus. When the word says that we need to hide the word in our hearts. I think that's the part we miss sometimes. We get on a plan and we, read what it says to read, but we forget to meditate on that throughout the day. So I try to pull out a little, a line or a sentence or a verse that I can continue to meditate on. And that has helped me the most to really hide the word in my heart and pray through it as well.
So good. Thank you. Mike Donaghy is a
Yes.
pretty deep guy, you might
Oh,
say.
yeah.
What is
Mhm.
the most profound thing that you've gleaned just being on tour with
Ooh,
him?
I love that question. Mike is a very deep guy, and he's also one of the silliest guys you'll ever meet. It is so funny. Just like being around him as he meets new people every night. We get to meet the people that come to the shows, and he lives in the present moment more than probably anyone I've gotten to tour with. And he just takes the time to really look people in the eyes and see them. It's hard not to do that when you're around him too. And so I'm learning that from him, and just what it takes to kind of see people in the 30 seconds we have with them sometimes. I just think it's really powerful, because it shows when someone can do that, it shows that they've been with Jesus, because he does that. And so I'm learning that from him for sure. And we just get to have so much fun, and we're so silly, and it's the best time on this tour too.
You have got a series on Instagram of songs that didn't make your EP, which I
Yes.
kind of equate to the Ben and Jerry's Flavor Graveyard.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it hard having music that you've poured so much of your heart into and then not having it get out there?
Oh, sometimes, yeah. It's interesting because we wrote a lot of songs last year. I think I wrote like more than 100 songs. And you pour your heart into these songs for sure, but somehow the ones that need to make it always do. So I feel very comforted of like the music that I've put out is those are the songs that needed to be put out into the world. But there are songs that I love so much still, and so I wanted to also post those and let it be a little moment. I think the Lord knows which songs need to be out, and I feel good about that.
Natalie Layne is in concert with 10th Avenue North October 5th in Hamburg, New York, and October 6th in Rochester, New York. You can connect with tickets on the events page at familylife.org. If you've enjoyed this episode of 10 Minutes With, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. You might also consider giving to Family Life, the listener-funded ministry that makes this and other podcasts possible. Go to familylife.org and find out more about what we do. Did you know Family Life offers a variety of podcasts? Get up to date with Family Life news or enjoy some family time with Family Life Kids. There's If That Makes Sense, a Family Life original podcast where they talk about what life is like for Christians in their 20s. And Therese Talk, a podcast to help women better serve their family and community. They're all free and on demand at familylife.org/podcast.